just thought I'd take a short break just to let you know about becoming a Breakout Bestie. So we've launched a brand new subscription service for the small businesses that need us in your pocket. So why do you need to become a Breakout Bestie? Well, it's just a monthly subscription that gives you access to us when you need us. There's a closed group where you can ask us any question you need. There's also an anonymous posting on, so if you've got clients in the same group, you can ask us anything and we'll get back to you. Sometimes that'll be a quick answer, other times it might be that we need a bit more of an in-depth chat. There'll also be posts and information on the latest trends, the latest strategies for social media, upcoming things from HMRC that you may have missed, just anything you need to make your life easier to run your business. You'll also have access to our client base and money off discounts and vouchers for various services we've got coming out. This is brand new, it's only just been launched, so have a look, go on our website under Besties and sign up soon.
For years I've been trying to find that thing that like gets my fires burning and makes me feel passionate, and I just discovered the concept of cat cafes, started visiting them and just thought, oh my god, I can't believe I didn't think of this sooner, because it's just me. It's completely me. You know, I had that sort of light bulb moment, I guess, where I sat in this cat cafe in London one day. I was on my own. Then I thought, oh, before I go home, I'm just going to go and nip in, have an hour at this cat cafe. And I just sat there and I thought, this is what I want to do.
Hi and welcome to Business Rainbows and Unicorns, where there's no such thing as failure if you don't try. This podcast is specifically for business owners or wannabe business owners. Say you've got a side hustle, or you've got a passion for something and you think it'd be absolutely amazing, or you see people that do amazing things with their passions and what they enjoy doing. Well, you can do that. So please subscribe, and we hope you enjoy listening to this episode. Hi and welcome to Breakout Business Rainbows and Unicorns, where there's no such thing as failure if you don't try. Now today, I'm particularly very excited because we're on location, and not only are we on location, we're at Finnegan's Whiskers, which is Suffolk's first? Is it Suffolk's first cat cafe?
First and only.
First and only cat cafe in Suffolk. So if you don't know what a cat cafe is, we're just surrounded by cats, so my mental health is amazing at the moment because I get to make a fuss of all the cats. So I've had several on my lap and join me, but I will let Shelley fill you in, because she's passionate about cats and rescue cats would be an absolute understatement. So thanks for coming on anyway.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us, cat cafe. What is a cat cafe?
So I suppose there's two different types of cat cafe out there. There's cat cafes that just purely have resident cats that live there all the time. Okay. And quite often they will have lots of pedigree cats. So I guess it's a kind of way for people to go and see, you know, the Maine Coons, the Bengals, British Blues. And then there is the other type of cat cafe which does rehoming. And then there are some cat cafes that do a bit of both, that have some resident cats and some rescue cats. So it's sort of twofold what we do at Finnegan's Whiskers, and we provide a space for people to just come and have cat therapy. It's very calming. I was very intentional when I created the business that I wanted it to be a calm space. So when I designed the interior and chose the colour scheme, everything was to create a feeling of calm, a feeling of relaxation.
Because we all need that right now, to be fair, anyway.
And obviously there is scientific evidence that tells us that stroking cats is therapeutic. So people can come and just enjoy our environment, have a nice relaxing hour with our cats. And if people are looking to adopt a cat, they can come here and see if they meet a cat that they fall in love with, and if so, they can apply to adopt them. So, we're helping to sort of relieve the pressure on rescues who, you know, are inundated at the moment.
Yeah, it's quite scary. I would happily adopt all of them. I'm falling in love with all of them, especially when they come and sit on my lap. That's it, I'm sold.
I know.
Hey, we sold on you. There'll be a lot of, through this podcast, of just me in the background going, the universal language of attracting a cat. So, but yeah, so what made you decide to open a cat cafe? What was your...
I was sort of at a transitional point in my life whereby I had left my previous career, was working in TV and radio. That was pre having children. And then after I had my daughter, who is now almost 11, I sort of dabbled in a few different things. And then I had my son, who's now 4, and I sort of stopped work altogether when I had him because it was COVID, and I knew I wasn't going to have any more children, so I just wanted time to be a mum for a bit. So then he reached an age and I just thought, right, what now for me?
Yeah.
I didn't want to go back to what I was doing previously because it didn't really fit in with family life.
Yeah.
And yeah, so and for years, to be honest with you, I've been trying to find that thing that like gets my fires burning and makes me feel passionate. And I just felt frustrated because before having my son, I had my own marketing company, so I was doing social media marketing for small businesses and video production, and it was fun, it was good, but it didn't excite me, and I thought it was going to, and so when it didn't, I was disappointed. And then I just discovered the concept of cat cafes, started visiting them, and just thought, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't think of this sooner, because it's just me. It's completely me. Anyone that knows me knows that I've always been completely mad about cats and just animals in general, but mainly cats. And so when I started going to cat cafes, there's a bit of an altercation happening there.
You are not allowed past this cushion.
I just... I had that sort of light bulb moment, I guess, where I sat in this cat cafe in London one day. I was on my own. It was about 7:30 at night. I'd met friends for lunch in London. Then I thought, before I go home, I'm just going to go and nip in and have an hour at this cat cafe. And I just sat there and I thought, this is what I want to do. Yeah. And I went home and I said to my husband, I'm going to open a cat cafe. And he just kind of laughed, I guess, thought I was mad. Because at that point there weren't any other cat cafes around here at all, and it was quite a new concept. So a lot of friends and family that I started telling, I'm going to open a cat cafe, were a bit like, what's that? What are you talking about? Are you mad? That's never going to work.
Because the nearest one is it Shoreditch? There's one.
Yeah, so there's one in Southend. That was probably our nearest, or Great Yarmouth. They were probably the two nearest to Suffolk when I first started planning the business. So yeah, there were a few people that were sort of like, really? Can you make a viable business out of that? I don't really understand. But I did loads of research. Absolutely number crunched for months, because I applied for a startup loan, so I had to do a lot of I had to write a very detailed business plan. And so after having done all of that, I felt very confident that it was going to work. And I believed in it so much that by the time I'd got that far, there was no way I was not going to do it. I was going to find a way.
It's going to happen.
I was going to find a way to make it work one way or another. And as at the age of 42, I have finally found that thing that excites me and that I feel passionate about.
I love coming to work every day. I mean, who can't? Who wouldn't? I've got one settled on my lap now.
I know.
Very, very malty. Eh? Oh, so what would you say there? Because it's interesting. So I am very open by the fact I never wrote a business plan. But then I never went for a startup loan or anything like that. And I opened in COVID. It was all very weird. And opened just sort of in COVID, just after COVID. So what would you say has been what's been the nice thing, the easiest thing to do? And I have a lot of people coming in to see me. They're like, I'd love to start this, or I'd love to open a cafe or a tea rooms or something like that. I can now tell quite quickly. It's normally when I get all excited, enthusiastic for them, and they're still like, and I'm like, you need that drive and that passion to get you going about something. But what would you say has been the easiest or biggest success where you've been light bulb moment of oh God, oh wow, yep, this fits, this works, it's...
Oh, God, I don't know. It's a really difficult question. I suppose it was really once I opened, because all the time leading up to opening, I really believed in it, but there was still that little imposter syndrome thing going on in the back of my head that was like, but what if you're wrong?
Yeah.
What if this is a total flop? Nobody wants to come. Nobody likes it. And I just kept thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do? If this is a complete flop, what am I going to do? And I think that first week that I opened, seeing customers flood in, and not only customers flood in, but the feedback I got and the response that I got from people about what we were doing here, and the fact that people kept coming back again and again, I suppose was that moment that was like, you know, okay,
well,
it has worked.
We tried, but we couldn't book in. We're like, no, she's full. She's still full.
I suppose it was like, it was quite a relief, I suppose, because it was like, okay, I was right to believe in it. It has all worked out how I wanted it to and how I thought it would. But I suppose up until that moment, there wasn't really anything that was easy, or that came easy, or it was... A lot of it was a battle to get to this point. It was a lot of hard work, a lot of hours. I mean, my family didn't see me for months. But I think, when I opened my doors and saw the response that we got from the community and from the customers coming, that was like the validation that it was all worth it.
The big tick in the box that brought the business plan to, oh, look, it does all fit and work. So what would you say the biggest or the hardest bit, the biggest struggle has been?
I'd say there's two. I say there's sort of like the biggest struggle in the lead up to opening, so in the planning of the business, was finding a premises. That was really difficult. And it was really frustrating because everything was ready. I was raring to go, but I just couldn't find a building. And it was... it was quite soul destroying, and I'm quite an impatient person, so I like to do my research, but once I'm ready and everything's teed up, I'm like, I want to go now. I want to go now.
We need to open today.
And I just couldn't progress because I couldn't find a premises. And then I found a premises, and they kept me hanging for a really long time, weeks and weeks and weeks I wasted. And then right at the last minute, they pulled out and I was right back to square one, and I just wanted to cry. Well, I think I did cry. And then when I finally found where I am now, it was already tenanted. So then I had to wait for the tenant to finish their lease. So it was had to put a lot of patience in place during that time. So that was difficult. And then after I opened, I think the most difficult thing was just being on a huge learning curve. Huge learning curve. And we're still, even now, 4 months in, I'm still adjusting the way I'm doing certain things and tweaking and trying to find what works. And I think when I first opened, for the first couple of months, I didn't enjoy a lot of it.
No, because I think it's on the job learning, and especially when you've got so much footfall, because it's what we have. You don't know, like, still now, if someone walks in our door, I don't know what they're going to ask. So you have to be on game. And it's similar here, isn't it? You don't know how a customer's going to be, what they're going to say, what they're going to ask for, are they going to understand? Just talk us through, anyone that's not been to a cat cafe, because you had to do quite a lot of alterations, didn't you? Because you've got obviously the entrance hall, so there's so much to keep the cats safe, and they've got their own area, so, and like the rules. Just talk us through how the cat cafe works, but also what's done, because there's a lot of myths about cat cafes that I've even read, and I get quite worked up about. No, it's not like that. They're very happy. So we have a double door entry system. So we have an inner lobby essentially. So it creates an airlock so the cats can't escape. So no, the two doors can't be open at the same time. So ideally we like people to book in advance, just because we operate in hourly sittings. So you can just walk in, and if we have availability, we'll let you in, but you need to arrive at the start of the sitting. So it's hourly sittings. We have a 15-minute break in between each sitting so that we can like reset, tidy up. The cats have a little downtime. And the cats have a
quiet room that they can access via cat flap whenever they want to. So when the cats are out and about in the cafe, it's because they've chosen to be. Yeah. So they're never forced to be interacting with people. If they ever want to go back to their quiet room, they can. They've got beds out there. They've got their litter trays out there. So, you know, there are never forced interactions, and that's where our house rules come into play as well. So we have house rules that everybody has to read before they come in, and that includes not picking cats up, because, you know, if we had customers coming in here all day long picking cats up,
you'd be scratched.
Yeah,
to
and the cats
with,
would just be totally overwhelmed. And not all cats like being picked up, is the reality. Yeah. And again, that's forcing an interaction, and we never like to force an interaction. So, you know, we just like the cats to do their thing, and the customers are just there to fit in around that in a way. So, you know, if a cat comes and sits on your lap, that's a total honour and a treat. Or, you know, you may just get to sit beside a cat and stroke them. Some of our cats like to play, so you can play with them. But yeah, we never like to force any interactions. No. And we also have an age limit, so we don't let children under the age of 8 years old come in. Yeah. And that's just because we like to keep that calm atmosphere. And it's not that we don't like young children, it's just that children under a certain age are not capable of, you know, being quiet, being calm a lot of the time.
And you know, and it's quite adult pets, aren't they? They're not it's like, oh, I've got 2 cats at home, and they could not be more opposite. One will, like this, quite happily, she'll sit for hours, steal your heat and curl up on your lap. The other one is he'll come near you, but you pick him up, it's a hard no, that one. So it's not fair on them, because children, you can't explain that to children. No. So. And because all of our cats here are rescue cats, they've come from all different backgrounds. Some of them have come from trauma. Some of them have come from not being treated very well. So we just don't believe that it's a suitable environment for young children. But we have cat cutouts in our window frosting, and a lot of toddlers, it's sort of perfect toddler height on the window, so a lot of toddlers come up to the window and get to look through, and it's so sweet because they always look so joyful and happy. So it's nice that it's still something for the little kids to look at on the high street, if you like, but even though they can't actually come in. Well, shopping couldn't be more boring for a toddler. So to get to walk down and go, oh, look at all the animals.
Yeah, we always have lots of sticky fingerprints on the outside of the windows.
So what would you say, because you mentioned, and you've got on your social media about being an ambassador for British Business Bank. So was that already, did you find them, did they find you, how does that work?
So when I was looking into how I was going to finance the startup of the business, I discovered a organisation called Mentor, who offer like free mentoring for startup businesses, and they were incredible. I got in touch with them, and they just gave me some advice on writing my business plan, doing all my financial forecasting, and they told me about startup loans, which is funded through the British Business Bank. So it was startup loans that I went to apply for my loan. And they were brilliant to deal with. They gave me my loan, and then they contacted me shortly afterwards to say, would I be their East of England ambassador? And I was completely blown away, because they sort of called me and had this chat with me one day, and I thought they were just calling to, you know, just check in, see how it's all going. But I think they were sort of like talking to several people to try and figure out who could be an ambassador. So when they asked me to be an ambassador, I was really flattered, and I hadn't actually even opened at that point. I was still in the fit out process, so I was I said, are you sure? I mean, like, it might be terrible. I'm not even open yet. And they said, no, we really believe in you, and we love your passion, and we think your story's inspiring. So, the British Business Bank select 12 ambassadors every year to represent every region of the UK. And they're all people that have taken out a startup loan from the British Business Bank. And my role as an ambassador is to help try and inspire other budding entrepreneurs. So that involves just doing different things throughout the year. So next week I'm going to London to a business awards ceremony to do like an open forum talk during the ceremony with the chief exec of the bank, just to talk about, you know, my journey. And the same thing happened when they launched the ambassador program. All of me and the other 11 ambassadors all got together at a venue, and we got to hear stories from previous ambassadors, and that I found that really inspiring for me. So it's an amazing thing to be part of, and I'm really proud that they believed in me, and that was a massive vote of confidence for me, that someone like the British Business Bank saw my business amongst hundreds of others from the east of England and chose me to be the ambassador. So I was really proud.
What would be your advice for people? Because I get a lot of people coming in and they want to start a business, and the biggest hold up is money. That's the first thing. You want to start a business, and some people assume you need hundreds of thousands of pounds. For example, I didn't. For mine, the way I was set up at the time and what I was earning, I was okay, so I managed to do it with the help of my other business partner Phil. So he put some money into it, but other than that, at the time we didn't need a loan or grants or anything, but we're getting to the point now we do, because we have to I need to take a step back from doing the to bringing the money in to branch out and look at other things. So what would be your advice to someone starting up? Because it's quite scary when people are like, right, you want a business plan, you need the financials. And that's the first thing I say to people. It's like, you need a bit of a financial plan. They're like, oh, there's a finger in the air jobby.
And I think that was the biggest sort of stumbling block when I came up with the idea. Was like, okay, well, this is what I want to do, but how am I going to do it? Because I don't have like a rich family to turn to ask for money. I don't have hundreds of thousands of pounds of savings in the bank. So how can I do this? And it was through talking to Mentor, actually, who told me about the startup loans company that sort of put me on that right path of knowing where to turn, because I was sort of like, do I try and find an angel investor? Do I try and pull together some sort of crowdfunding page? But I sort of felt like that was a bit done, and people are a bit sick of people asking for I don't know, that didn't sit you've got to be well comfortable with me. With it. It's the same with I've got a couple of business partners, but I struggle with, we've looked at investors, and when I've spoken to people, they've said, oh yeah, well, but depending on the investor, they'll want a say in how the business works and what you do. And I am a control freak. I'm like, absolutely,
I don't want to be told how to do it. I've got my idea of how I want it to work. So I want their money, but I don't want their opinion.
That is exactly the same as me. I am such a control freak, and I had such a clear vision of what I wanted the cafe to be that I couldn't get my head around having another opinion coming in and trying to change how I wanted to do it. It was Mentor that talked to me about the startup loans company, and when I looked at the interest rate on the loan repayments, it was much lower than if you went to the bank, a standard high street bank. So it sort of suddenly became more financially viable. And then when I started doing the financial forecasts, which were really difficult, because that was like pie in the sky to begin with. I sat with a spreadsheet and went, well, how am I going to know how many cakes I'll sell? How many people are going to come through the door? Like, I didn't know where to start. But what I started to do was reach out to speak to other cat cafe owners. And not everyone was that forthcoming with information, because I think some people felt a bit guarded about giving away their secrets to me or whatever. But there were a few cat cafe owners that did speak to me and did tell me what type of footfall they had, because that was what I was really trying to understand, was what type of footfall can I expect?
Well, especially when you're still the only one in Suffolk.
Exactly.
So it's not like it's a shop or a newsagent's 2 doors down. You can kind of sit outside with a coffee and go, oh yeah, they've had quite a few people in today.
I know.
What are they walking out with?
Exactly. It was, I couldn't just look at Cafe Nero and compare. It
No.
was completely like, I have no idea. So that was a really useful starting point, was talking to other cat cafe owners and kind of them telling me what type of custom, what level of custom they get.
Yeah.
That was like a bit of a starting point. And then what I did was I did like a best case and a worst case financial forecast. So I did a, this is what I hope I will achieve.
Yeah.
And then I did a, if it's a disaster and I only get like 5 people through the door a day or whatever, what will that look like financially? And that was a family friend is sort of an entrepreneur, and he gave me that bit of advice to do the worst case and the best case, because he said you've got to be realistic that it might not go how you want it to. So that was good, because I felt like, okay, even if the worst case happens, I'm sort of prepared for it. And I think for my loan application, they liked that I'd done that because it showed that I was being realistic, and I wasn't just like, I'm going to make £1 million in my first year, you know?
We had, when I took on, because before I was technically virtual, but I wasn't virtual. I'd go in because I get more out of people face to face, so I'd just go to their place to work. So when I was like, Phil, let's open a co-working space. Like, yeah, sure. I said, well, I'll make sure if no one walks through the doors, I've got 6 months rent covered. So if absolutely no one does. And then when I spoke to my potential landlords, which was so lovely, because they were like, what are you doing again? And I was like, oh, I'm opening a co-working space. They're like, what's that? And I'm like, oh, well, there's one here, there's one there. And just talking about it. They're like, yeah, we don't really get it, but good luck. And it was more about what I wanted to do to the building and change in it, but it's listed, so that was a bit difficult. But at the same time, I said they gave me a 5-year lease, and I went, can we put a 2-year break in that? Because just being open and honest, if it just doesn't work out and just doesn't go well, I don't want to, and I'm a limited company, so I don't want to be that person that's just like, right, shut down, owe you money, tough, doing there was another local business that did that. They just disappeared overnight, and that was it, just cut off, and they had bookings. They had people queuing at the door and like trying to ring, no one's answering the phone, and that was it, they'd gone. So yeah, luckily, and I think the more I've found being more open and honest with all of those people, they've been just like, I think more so being a business that's not proven locally as well, everyone's appreciated that more, and it's kind of opened more doors. And that's why we've kind of gone down that theme on our socials as well, of just being open and honest with people. And the same when people come in to talk to me about starting a business, and I'm like, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. I was talking to a cafe locally yesterday, and we were talking about the weather. We were just like, oh, just the rain brings you down. And I said, yeah, it's really hard. And I said, in this day and age, it's, people see you as, oh, you've got a cafe, it's 9 till 3, you get to see everyone, you better to call them cups of coffee, then you go home. They don't see you sat there with piles of receipts and on a spreadsheet and all that admin behind it. It's because you don't post that on social media, so it's not true. And the number of customers that say to me on a daily basis, oh my God, what a dream job. You must have the best job in the world. And I'm kind of like, yeah, it is amazing. However, I am like a swan. So on the surface, if you come in here day to day, you'll see me lovely, happy, smiley, having the best time. But underneath, there's a whole lot of like mad paddling and stress going on to just keep everything, ticking as it should be, because it's not just, there's so much to running a cat cafe in terms of you're running a food and drink business like any other normal cafe, but you've got 12 live animals to care for that all have health needs, welfare need, there's just, and the worry, that's something that I think I didn't quite account for actually, is, and I am a worrier, like by nature, and especially when it comes to animals. So my animals at home are like my babies. And if they're poorly or if they don't come home before dark, I worry about them. And I hadn't quite fathomed that I was going to be doing that for 12 little beings in my cafe every day of the week. So it's like, even when I leave at the end of the day, I'm thinking about them.
are they okay? Or did I give them enough cuddles before I left?
Yeah.
What if they're, just silly things that probably a lot of people would just think, oh, for goodness sake, but
they'll be fine.
that is sort of how I am. And so, so it's a tricky balance, because I'm always balancing. I want my customers to be really happy. I want every customer that comes through to have a brilliant, positive experience. So I want them to have a really good cup of coffee, a really nice item of food. I want them to enjoy the experience, all this stuff. I want everything to be positive. But then I also want all the cats to be happy.
Yeah.
And I don't ever want a cat to feel upset or, forced into something they don't, so it's just balancing. Plus staff. I have a team of staff. I want to make sure they're happy. Yeah. There's so much that goes into it.
It's a lot to think about.
It's a lot. So even when I'm not here physically, my brain is always here. It's always thinking and planning and worrying, and all the cats, they need their vaccinations, have their flea treatment. You have to be on top of everything.
Yeah.
So it's a lot more than I think people come in and see me just like hanging out with cats all day.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more to it than that.
And that's 12 cats that use litter trays as well. So
yes. There's a lot of poop.
Yeah. And I think that goes through on your obviously you've got a background in marketing as well, but that just comes across all that serene and swan-like, and it flows through on all your social media and everything you put out, because already you've got that feel of, from looking at the social media and pictures of the cats and seeing the adoptions go out, because your adoption's been incrable, hasn't it? And I forget it's only 4 months as well.
I know,
feel like you've been here like years.
43 adoptions we've done so far.
It's amazing.
So really pleased with that. But I think I was just thinking, going back to what I was just saying about like being a swan and like lots of mad paddling and stress underneath, there is all of that. But I think what we were just saying earlier about, you have to be passionate. If you're going to start a business, you have to be passionate about it, because I think if I wasn't passionate, all that stress that I have wouldn't be worth it.
No, it'd be so overwhelming.
And completely. And there are days where sometimes I am overwhelmed. Just I remember in the first few weeks that I opened, I had days where I just thought, oh my God, I don't think I can do it. It's too much. I complete overwhelm. But I think if you don't have that passion, you've got nothing to pull you through those really stressful moments, because there are a lot of them.
Well, it's just the responsibility, because as you say, it's not, you use the word worry, but it's the responsibility of 12 cats. Just we've got 2 dogs and 2 cats at home. That's a lot. So 12 cats, staff, customers, and it's that mental juggle of, we joke about it at work, because it's just people coming in all the time. We finish at 5. I have to get home and sit in a dark room. I'm just like, it's a lot. But then you're mum, wife, there's a whole household to manage as well. So it's quite, I think that's what people don't get of, because, and I'm not saying all jobs are like this, because I've worked in the corporate world, but 9 to 5, you can leave at 5 and forget about it. If you're conscientious, you don't. We all do that. I remember doing 7 till 7 and waking up in the middle of the night stressing because of what you've not done. But I think people forget that when you've run your own business, that it's like, oh yeah, well, we turn up and we open up the cat cafe at 9 and the first customers come in at 9:15, and then we get our hours breaks and then we lock up, tidy up, and off we go. And it's like, none of the vet visits, none of the cleaning out, checking they're all right, and then it's the worry of, well, what does happen if one of the cats is poorly or something happens? It's the unknown, isn't it?
There is a lot to it. But which is why you have to love it. You have to. If I didn't love it, I couldn't do it, because it's a lot of hard work, but it is worth it. It is absolutely worth it.
I suppose the adoptions are the reward of seeing them go to their new homes, and the fact you get to come and visit. I have fallen in love with the one on my lap.
That's so Lexi.
Yeah, Lexi's chosen me. I think I'm taking half her fur home with me on my jumper as well. But what advice would you give to someone setting up their own business in terms of the realistic of, like you say, you didn't see your family for God knows how long setting it all up, and that timeline I think as well of, like you say, you've got a place and then getting it how you want it and the branding and the feel of it. What would you say to someone?
I'd say everything takes longer and costs more than you think it will.
Yeah,
and I remember lots of people saying that to me and me kind of thinking, but like that won't be me because I'm really organised.
Yeah. No. I've got a plan.
Yeah, and even me being really organised, it's still, everything took longer, everything costs more.
Yeah.
And that's one thing actually I would advise is if you are starting a business that does involve applying for a loan, ask for more than you think you need.
Yeah.
I wish I'd asked for a little bit more.
Yeah.
I sort of asked for the exact amount that I needed.
Yeah.
In hindsight, I wish that I had given myself more of a buffer there.
Yeah.
Because, things did end up costing more. I think I'm very lucky that I've got a very supportive husband.
Yeah.
I probably couldn't have done this if I didn't, because we have got 2 young children and he has picked up a lot of the childcare because he had to. Be prepared that you do have to sacrifice your social life, time with your family.
More money.
Yeah. And even now, I don't get as much time at home with my children because I'm working longer hours than I ever have done before.
Yeah.
And I'm working not every weekend anymore. I was for a while. When I first opened, I was working 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And that was really difficult. And I felt like I was heading towards burnout.
Yeah.
And that really scared me because I thought, in previous jobs where I've worked for other people, if I get burnout, I just call in sick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not ideal, but No,
but you just you need a duvet day.
Yeah, but I just thought, but I can't do that. What if I wake up one morning and I physically feel like I just cannot get out of bed because I'm so exhausted? What's going to happen? So I had to very quickly realise that I had to get more staff in place so that I could take a bit of a step back. But that was difficult because, like we were just saying, I'm a control freak.
Yeah.
And I found it really hard to not be here 7 days a week because I thought, but if I'm not here, what if everything falls apart?
Yeah. It's the worry of what's going on when you're not there.
What if it's not the same when I'm not here? What if customers don't get that same experience? What if the cats aren't as well looked after? But actually, I've learned that I can step away. I've got a really great team here now, really capable, and that was quite a revelation to me. Is that I can have a weekend off, and I can be fully booked at the cafe, and everybody still leaves happy and has a great time, even though I'm not there. And that's not to sound arrogant, but I think when a business is your baby, it is really hard to relinquish it to let other people take control for a few days a week.
But how did you find your team? How was it? Because
I didn't.
That's a whole job in itself.
I didn't even recruit. When I was opening, I didn't put out any recruitment, any ads. I just had people contacting me because people knew that the cafe was coming, and people were just emailing me CVs. So I managed to just gather some really good CVs. I did some interviews.
Nice.
And it was quite good that I didn't have to actively go out looking. People just approached me.
Yeah.
And I think the good thing I have found with the staff I've got is because of what we do here, because we're not just a standard cafe, the people that work here really, really want to work. They're passionate about it as well. They love cats. For them, it's, an amazing job. So I think because of that, I've been lucky that I've had good people coming to work for me that want to be here and want to work really hard and sort of follow the same passion that I have.
Yeah, because it's not just a job, is it? And it shouldn't, I'm not saying it shouldn't be, because it's hard because you're so passionate about your baby, your business, and you're they've got to remember that's not their baby and their business. But actually, if they enjoy it, like you were saying earlier, if they're happy and they're enjoying what they're doing, they just naturally, and I think that's where, like the house rules come in, and those boundaries of just everyone's happier when they know where they stand, what they can and can't do, what their jobs list is, what the routine is, what you do with the cats. But yeah, as I've visited before, it's not just, you can't just sit and go, oh yeah, there's the coffees, we're going to sit and play with the cats now. It's not an easy job. So how do you juggle it all? Because obviously with being your own business, being here, looking after the cats, doing the social media and the marketing, doing the books and everything else at the end of the day, how do you manage it? How do you juggle it?
Don't know, really. Just do. I'm tired. I'm really tired. Not helped by the fact that I have a 4-year-old that still doesn't sleep on his own. Brilliant. I try to be organised. I'm not always, let's be honest. I try. I just do, I suppose. I just do. But that's been a learning curve as well, getting into like the rhythm of everything that needs doing. And I have made mistakes. I did have a day where I ran out of coffee beans because I hadn't put an order in with my supplier in time. So that was... and I've made mistakes like that where I haven't been on top of everything. But I kind of think that's the type of mistake you make once. And then you never do it again because you're like, my God, that was awful. That was like horrendous. What am I going to do? I've got a cafe full of people and no coffee beans. Just try to be... I write things down. I have to write things down.
Oh, same.
I mean, I made a boo-boo with recording this podcast because I didn't write the date in my diary. If I don't write it down, it doesn't exist, basically. Same. Because there's so much in my head, it has to be down in writing.
It's funny because I said to someone the other day, and I still, every now and again, think I'll remember it. Why I assume I remember. Oh, yeah, I'll remember that. And literally, 5 minutes later, it's gone.
Because something else happens to take you away to do something else.
The notes on my phone and my diary are my saviour, absolute saviour. I'm still a pen and paper person as well, so I will sit and write things down and put pen and paper. But what would you say? What's your sort of takeaway in terms of the learning curves and what you've found with it? What would you? So if you were to do it all again, what would you do differently?
God, I don't know.
Because it's obviously how much planning and just down to, like, even sat in here with all the branding and the colours and the style, and that's, I would say, one of our biggest things when people come into us, especially if they're coming in to talk to us about social media. We're like, what's your brand? And they're like, oh, here's my logo. I'm like, that's great, but what's your brand? Well, what do you mean what's your brand is? Well the colours, the tone, the chat. And it's my biggest conversation about, and I think some businesses are quite shocked, and it's the same as, like, you've been in social media, so you'll get this. I'd be like, I don't want to do your social media, because actually the best person to do your social media is you, because it's your images, your tone of voice, your colours. We can help with elements of it, and I do have businesses where they're like, no, don't want nothing to do with it, but they give us enough of that brand, and they've built that up, so it's quite easy to do. But it's funny that a number of businesses we speak to, and they just haven't got that. Like you say, this is a very calm environment. Even when I've been in and there's been 11 other people here to sit with the cats and have coffees, and you're dishing out coffees and food and stuff, it's still very calm. And it's just that on the outside it feels like, oh, well, she wouldn't change things, she'd do nothing differently, because clearly, like, obviously I wasn't here the day you ran out of coffee beans. But there's nothing on the outside of it, which is the right thing to do when you run a business. You wouldn't see those, sometimes they're big things to you, but actually to your customers they wouldn't notice it. They wouldn't.
And I think a lot of the tweaks that I have made, like you say, like, I haven't been public about the fact that I've made them, because I don't want it to be... Customers don't need to know everything you're doing.
God, no, not at all.
And so, like, we have changed processes. How we work with the rescue has slightly changed. The process for adopting cats has changed. all things that I've had to put in place to just make the process run smoother. But I don't advertise that because, like there are some things that I think customers need to know and other things they don't. And also, and sometimes I think small businesses make the mistake of, because like you were saying that part of your ethos is being open and honest. But there's a difference between being open and honest and airing all your dirty laundry to customers. I think that's like a thin line to tread. And if and there have been teething issues here with certain things, but it's not stuff that I publicly want to announce to my followers on social media.
I had a client in, and they'd got some issues with just with their business bits and pieces. And it was on a one-to-one basis, and it wasn't until I said, I've had similar issues, like this happened, that's happened. We don't know that. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not going to post that out on social media. In effect, I had someone refuse to pay me, and it was a really awkward, horrible conversation. And they're like, but we didn't know that. And I'm like, but I'm not. That's not a chat for public. That is not for me to put out on social media. By the way, so and so hasn't refused to pay me. And I was saying the other day at our networking event, I said there's local businesses where I've had quite a bad service at, but again, I will talk to them about it and just give them feedback. But I wouldn't put it in a review. I wouldn't tell 10 people. And I had someone, she joked, she turned around, yeah, but you're announcing it at networking like I'm talking about it now. I said, but I'm not telling you what business or what it was, but it's just giving the example. There is nothing worse than a small business that you get a negative review or feedback and you know nothing about it, and you see it publicly for the first time. And I said, it's very much that social media balance of, social media can be a very negative space. I love it for the small businesses. I think it's brilliant because we can celebrate each other, support each other, and it's amazing. However, there is an element of it where people for want of a better phrase, trolls, that will go on and they're not nice people, but actually that's not okay. So for us to portray I'll be open and honest, but at the same point, I'm not going to go on and do a rant about so-and-so didn't pay me, or I went here, it was awful service. And it was like, it's that conversation I can have with the business owner. How they rectify that is up to them, but at least if we've given them a chance to say, like, by the way, this is that. But you wouldn't go around, like you say, airing your dirty laundry or bad mouthing a business, because I love to give everyone the benefit of doubt. We all have bad days. We all know we're all going to drop a ball somewhere. I use it the same when I do bookkeeping. For example, I always say, if your accountant doesn't ask me a question, they've not checked everything, because I guarantee you, in everything we do over a year, the human error, there'll be an issue. No one's perfect. And that's my biggest worry, is if someone's not asking or checking something with me, I'd rather someone ask, check, or just reassure, even if it's just to reassure themselves. Because actually, it's not negative, it's feedback and it's check-in. And if you've got that, you're comforted in the fact that it's like that worry you were going back to saying earlier of, it's like, did I turn off my straighteners in the morning sort of thing. It's that worry at the back. Is that right? Because that's what wakes you up at 3-4 in the morning, especially as a business owner where you're like, did I do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So but no, you're right. There's some things you don't put on out there, but
and I do think, like, creating, like you were saying, so many people come in and say I want to start a business, but they haven't got that idea of a brand. And I think creating that brand first and foremost before you do anything else is so important, because that informs all your decisions. So the brand the Finnegan's Whiskers brand that I created, and we have 4 brand values, and all of my staff get told these are our brand values, this is what we embody in our everyday work here, and those brand values inform all the messages that go out publicly on social media and our marketing, and I just think having those things in place early doors helps you make decisions, how you deal with people, how you just the voice you're putting out there for your business.
It's funny because I'll always say to people, who's your target market? And they're like, oh, everyone. I'm like, trust me, having been in business 20 years, not everyone is your target market. You don't want every single customer. And my example of that is always, that's why we have Aldi and Waitrose. Different people go to different places, and your tribe will not be all those people. I say, in life as a general rule, who you get on with, don't get on with. And it's not that you don't get on, there's not a problem, there's not a drama. It's just you're not the same type of people. If we're all the same, it would be really boring.
And since I started planning the business, like I said, when I started planning the business, there were no other cat cafes within a 60-mile radius of here. And by the time I opened, another cat cafe had opened, literally like 15, 20 minutes down the road. And then since then, another one has opened, and there's going to be another one. But I think that's fine because, like you said about Aldi and Waitrose, we're doing different things. So there will always be people that want to come to Finnegan's Whiskers. There will always be people that want to go to the cat cafe down the road. And there'll be some people that prefer mine, and there'll be some people that will use both. That's okay. There's room for all of us.
Massive.
And we may attract different types of people, and that's all right.
The way I've always seen it, because I'm so more about collaboration than competition, is that, and I suppose Cat Cafe's a good example, they've not been around for years and years and years. So actually, if, like you're saying about reaching out and helping each other, well, if maybe it's someone talking in London or Oxford or where it might be, actually, if you help each other, you're building that separate brand of a cat cafe, of people then know it, recognise it, they know what to expect. So it's creating that awareness of the business anyway. So
and also I just kind of think you have to, there will always be competition. I can't control, someone else could open another cat cafe in Sudbury. I can't control that. I mean, it wouldn't be ideal for me, but all you can do is believe in your business and keep doing what you're doing and doing it well, and believing that people will continue to use your business because you're doing it well. And
you don't. I always say to someone, the minute you worry about what the competition's doing, your eyes are off the ball anyway. You're not in the right place. If you just stay in your lane and worry about what you're doing, your brand, your values, your ethos, people will come to you anyway, and you get that, you build that brand loyalty as well. It's like I always say that if you are worried about too much about competition, just stand in the Tesco aisle where all the bottled waters are. You can get water for free, but there's still a lot of businesses that make a lot of money about different colours, different where it's from, different shapes of bottles, and blimey, if they can, there's plenty of them, it will always work. So why? What's the reason behind the name Finnegan's Whiskers? What's the story?
So one of my cats at home is called Finnegan.
I love Finnegan.
It's funny actually, because when I first started planning the brand, it was going to be completely different to what it is now.
Oh really?
It was originally going to be called Mr. Finnegan's Whiskers. And my vision for it was this cat, Mr. Finnegan. He was going to have a handlebar moustache and a top hat, and the whole vibe was going to be quite sort of gentleman's smoking club almost, like Chesterfield chairs and And then as I sort of delved into my research and started pinning down the brand more, I completely went in a different direction because. And although that still would have been a calm sort of vibe, I wanted something lighter and brighter and more. I ended up going down the route of kind of rooting everything in nature. So all of my colours are colours that are rooted in nature. So it's greens, pinks that tie in with plant botanicals basically. The furniture is all wood. We have a lot of real plants. Everything, a lot of the cat enrichment stuff is wooden. So and that was sort of coming back to the fact that they're cats and they're living creatures and wanting everything to feel living and natural. But yeah, Finnegan came from my cat at home. I have got 3 cats, but Finn is my baby. And also
Not that we're allowed favourite children, but
I had, like, when I was brainstorming a name for the business, I've probably still got the bits of paper with all the ideas written on, which I should probably look back on because it's probably quite amusing now. But there are so many cliches that you can go down with, like, for names of cat cafes. And a lot of cat cafes, especially in America, there are loads of cat cafes in America, and they're all like very like funny cliched names. But I wanted something that wasn't, that was a bit different, and that was a bit, that sort of made you quite think, oh, Finnegan's and Whiskers, what's that? Rather than like a very obvious cat cafe name.
Oh, I love that. Is there anything you'd want to dispel the myth of? Is there like a frequently asked question that you'd want people to...
Lots of people ask, what do the cats do at night? Where do they go? Because I think a lot of people think that we take the cats home at the end of the day, which there are some cat cafes that do that, not many. So I always say, this is their home. When we're not here, they have free roam of the place. We have security shutters that come down to keep them safe, so people can't, break in through the windows or anything. And this is their home, and they sleep on the chairs, on the bed, everywhere they are when you come in and see them, that's where they are at night. And I have cameras so I can watch them when I'm not here.
Oh my word, I'd be addicted to the cameras. I'd be like, what they do?
When I first opened, I used to like log into the cameras all the time, and it was always like, oh, it's a bit boring.
Yeah, just sleeping.
Yeah, there was only one night where they broke into, I made the mistake of leaving a tub of Dreamies out of the cupboard, and this tub actually says on it, cat-proof tub. Well,
it wasn't.
12 cats, I think, managed to find a way. And I just looked on the camera one night, and sadly, I missed the actual breaking into of the tub, but I could just see the Dreamies all over the floor and the cats just feasting, and I was like, oh God, there's going to be some upset tummies in the morning.
Yeah, brilliant. That's something to look forward to, isn't it? Right.
And I guess the other myth about cat cafes is that it's exploitative of cats, which is just absolutely not the case. And I can't speak for all cat cafes in the world, but cat cafes now in the UK are regulated. We have to have an animal licence issued by the council. And obviously we have our house rules in place to make sure that our cats aren't exploited.
I was going to say, considering how chilled they all are right now, I mean... we are here on a Wednesday, and you're normally closed on a Wednesday, so I think they're a bit like, come on, this is our catch-up time that we get to sleep. That they've curled around all the equipment. So I think definitely they're definitely relaxed, aren't they? Which is the important thing. So oh well, thanks ever so much for coming on and joining
for having me.
It's been absolutely amazing, and I think I'm going to go home grey.
You've got the most molty cat in the cafe.
I have got
on your black jumper.
Yeah, exactly. This wasn't very on brand of me, was it? But thanks for coming on. And anyone listening, as always, if you'd like to like and subscribe and share, and go to, is it finneganswhiskers.co.uk to book. So preferably book, because I'll be honest with you, you can't turn up because they're normally booked out. I did turn up to buy some Christmas presents for Nisha, and the lady was like, "You all right?" It was at weekend, so it wasn't you, but she's like, "You all right?" I went, "Yeah, I want to buy some goodies." She's like, "Oh, you can come in then." And I got a bonus stroke of the cat while I was here. But definitely book online, and give them a follow on social media. But thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode. We really hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please share with a friend who you think needs a bit of help with starting a business, or even their small business which they've already got going. Please like and subscribe to our podcast, which always helps a small business or small podcast like us. And check the show notes. We all have everything in there relating to the episode which you might need, might want to read, and links to anyone we've interviewed and certain subjects we've spoken about. And thanks for listening.